This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. For the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X-Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, from 2 a.m. Eastern until 6 a.m. Eastern, from 6 p.m. Eastern until 10 p.m. Eastern. Whew. On the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone Broadcast Network, and our family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Australia, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. We're also on UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, and Star Cable. If you'd like to give us a call toll-free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Parris Stefanow, and we're going to be talking to Parris about being a spiritual intuitive. Now, Parris is a gifted spiritual intuitive. His realization of the paranormal world began when he was very young. At age 8, Parris would go straight to what was then called the New Age and Occult section of the public libraries and favor the paranormal books over children's books. He has always been sensitive to the subtle energies that surround him. As a teenager, Parris found himself attracted to energy of crystals and has worked with them for over 20 years. His self-realization of his life path unfolded while he was in his mid-20s. This path has led him to study many strict spiritual principles and practices that he has applied to his physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual lifestyles for over 16 years. In 1999, Parris had noticed many strange and unusual things that would occasionally manifest in pictures that he was taking. Recognizing and understanding that this was a gift, he soon learned how to focus his energy and apply it toward making a connection between worlds, manifesting and capturing on image many metaphysical occurrences as they enter our world from the unseen realms. Parris is now a paranormal spiritual photographer. He is also one of the winners of the International Paranormal Acknowledgment Award for Best Spirit Photography for the year 2009. Parris has also been a guest and featured on many talk show radio broadcasts. He has captured many metaphysical images while visiting several places such as private and public homes, businesses, historic landmarks, and at age 40, Parris, forgot to put 40 in there, says his life has only begun. X-Zone Nation, when I come back from this 2-minute commercial break, we're going to be talking to Parris Stefanow about his spiritual life and his photography here on the X Zone from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free, email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break as we start the X Zone for tonight, Wednesday, June the 30th in the year 2010. Tomorrow's Canada Day. We are going to be taking the day off and playing the best of. And to find out what's going to be played, just go to the X Zone Radio blog spot. It's that simple. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
And welcome back, everyone. Speaking about Canada Day, that's Lighthouse from London, Ontario. Pretty lady. I had the pleasure of working with Skippy Brokoff, who is the lead singer and drummer for Lighthouse when I was at 1290 CJBK in London. My guest this hour is Parris Stefanow. And Stefan, welcome to the X Zone.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. Spirit photography, tell us about it.
I'll tell you what, it's a very unique thing. I guess when I was about 30 years old, I kind of realized I had these things that I couldn't explain basically appearing every now and then in my pictures. And the first one that really kind of captured my interest was I was taking a picture of my daughter when we were in Pompano Beach, Florida. And when I got the picture back, it looked like there was something which appeared to me to be sort of an X-ray of what it looked like, a skeletal structure of a snake. But it had no basically head on it, and I was very puzzled by that. And at first I was a bit confused, but then I started researching on the internet at that time. And back in the late 90s, before the orb phenomena became more widely known, there were the rods that were appearing on videos. And very rarely you'd come across something that they called flying spines, which to this very day I've yet to really see, it show up in the media more in pictures.
Now, the rods were brought to the forefront by Jose Escamilla.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's right.
Yeah, you're very correct. So I realized, I wish I had this picture to this day. I don't have it now. It lies with somebody else. But I started to realize this, and I'm thinking to myself, wow. And it seemed the more that I had it on my mind, and the more that I thought about it, the more it seemed to have been attracted in my pictures. Like anything else, the more you focus on it, seems the more energy you give to it.
Right.
The more you can attract, and the more which will seem to come to you like a boomerang, an etheric boomerang, so to speak. So I just took it and I basically ran with it, and I feel privileged enough to be able to been through many things in my life that I practiced, and I kept myself pretty much in a strict code of ethics spiritually, in a sense, and I feel that's also helped me get more intuitive, and I was able to apply this with my work, and it just seems to be getting really better and better. And basically, at this point, I could pretty much get some good pictures and good apparitions on the average of maybe about 2 or 3 a week, to be honest with you. It's quite interesting.
Do you use any special cameras, any special lenses, any special lighting? How do you do it?
Well, I'll tell you what. I can use just a standard digital camera, but I like Samsung. Not a cheap camera. I use just a basic digital camera, and I keep the film speed pretty high. I mean, about as high as I can get to keep that shutter from staying open for extended periods of time.
Right.
Because of course I don't make overexposure and stretching of light. Mm-hmm. But that's what I do. Basically, I've had it on 35 millimeter. I've had it on little cameras. I've had it on digital cameras. And I really believe that basically whatever I do in paranormal, I believe I could pretty much probably be successful. I want to start getting over into EVPs and videos now is what I want to start moving on to next.
You mentioned orbs, and there's a lot of controversy out there when it comes to the orb phenomenon. And as a professional photographer and as a spiritual intuitive, can you give me your take on what an orb is and how to differentiate between an orb and the little crystals of moisture and dust that are in the air all the time?
I'll tell you what I have here, it seems to be that true metaphysical believers have their stories and explanations about orbs, and the skeptical unbelievers, they seem to have their stories and explanation about orbs as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel that both groups bring great theories to that table of content that could seem to explain the orb occurrence in either direction. Like either direction, meaning that orbs can be possibly a living spiritual entity. I've heard them called sprites, spirits, fairies, dimensional amoebas, so to speak. Or the orbs are accidental findings. They could be dust particles, most certainly, raindrops, water particles in the air, moisture, and even bugs. But I got to say, in my opinion, I feel that a certain amount of orbs that show up on film that appear to be kind of clear, see-through, with maybe a hairline going through it or something, mm-hmm. are an amplification of a dust particle, illuminated by the camera's flash. But at the same time, the same thing goes for if you take a picture at night and it's foggy, very humid, moisture in the air, you're going to get orbs, and it's going to be moisture orbs, But I also got to say that, in my opinion, certain orbs that seem to be very illuminating and white, and they leave a sort of a comet trail because they're traveling very fast. Some orbs that have intelligent angles that you would kind of see with a UFO craft, but it leaves that comet trail with that strange angle. I believe in the ones that are very colorful, bright cobalt blues or bright reds. I believe those also could be the event of a metaphysical working. You know what I mean? But basically, to sum up the orbs in my words, if like many things in our third-dimensional environment, if it can't be explained with weights and measures, there's always going to be doubts. Because how does one explain the etherical, spiritual workings of the upper dimensions in third-dimensional terms? You know what I mean? And with that being said, with that being said, to me, there's really no explanation as to what orbs really are. I think all we have to answer this question is the thought process at which we approach it. The thought forms that we as people have been programmed with since childhood will mostly determine the outcome of how we explain the orb.
How about ghostly apparitions? Have you ever been able to actually take a photo of a ghost?
I'll tell you what, I get a lot of bizarre things that show up that seem to take the images of faces, and I don't know why it seems to be faces. Just about a week ago to a week and a half ago, I was in a covered bridge in Berks County, Pennsylvania, and it was about 1 a.m, and we were taking pictures in this covered bridge at night. It was completely dark. I go back and I look at my findings on my pictures, and it looks like there is sort of like a big plank of the wood is hanging down, about 3 feet down, and it's very illuminated. And in that illumination, when I zoom in on that image, there appears to be what looks like a real face, like a sort of, I'm going to say evil, because it looks kind of evil, and it takes on the traditional look of what you would see a skeletal face would look like, almost like a mummified face. Now, why these apparitions choose to take the images of things that appear to be evil or face-wise, I don't know. But the only thing that I've come close to capturing a full-body type apparition was on a railroad track. There was a railroad crossing where there's a lot of people who have been attracted to this crossing who have been suicide or died by being hit by the train. And I was taking a picture of these tracks, and there's real dark particle energies, or as if it's really the first time I've come across dark energy, it seemed. Dark, shadowy particle manifestations standing between the railroad ties. And it was basically right in front of where I was taking the picture, and I had taken 2 shots. The first one shows this black particle, which seems to be a standing type entity, possibly Some people can make out a hood, some can't. The second picture didn't show nothing there, and you can clearly see the difference between it being there and it not being there. That's about the closest I'd say I've come to full body apparition. But the most random thing, the common thing that I get just seems to be faces, seems to be the plasma that sort of manifests around certain areas, and the moving orbs. When the orb moves, it leaves about maybe 6 or 7 trails of itself in succession, in its movement trail from where it was to where it's going.
Tell me, why do you think that some places remain haunted and other places where there have been catastrophes, disasters, horrific events happening are not haunted?
It's one of them things. It's hard to get into the upper dimensional workings with a third dimensional term. I think a lot of places where there is residual type hauntings is basically almost like a loop. There's like a loop in time and space. I also believe that there's certain areas in certain houses where there's like what I call like dimensional bleed throughs. Like there's little pockets where it seems that energy bleeds through into our third dimension. And they don't seem to be in the same spot. It seems that they can relatively fluctuate at different times. And there's so many things that I think affects hauntings. I also feel that the sunspots on the sun with the solar flares, they come out, and when that frequencies hit the planet, I think that also helps shift different dimensional bleed-throughs in different areas, in my opinion. And I've also heard theories on how that also affects the Bermuda Triangle, But in terms of why some areas seem haunted and some don't, I really don't have a definite answer to that. But I can tell you, I do pick up a lot of apparitions and a lot of metaphysical phenomena in areas that are not coined haunted. You know what I mean?
I sure do.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time, Parris, when you've been out there doing your photography and something has just scared the living daylights out of you?
Yeah, I've had 2 instances where I had that, where one comes into mind where I was in a graveyard right about 2 in the morning. I was visiting somebody who was sick in the hospital, and they had a 12-day stay. So I had to get out, and so I went out and I went to this graveyard. I walked to a graveyard pretty much right next to the hospital. And it was 2 in the morning, and I'm walking around these tombstones, and I see this obelisk, which is in several graveyards. And it was a full moon night. So I figured I'd take this really unique picture of the full moon over this obelisk point. So I take the picture, and when I'm snapping different angles of this picture, I get a really weird sensation. You know what I mean? Creepy. I get like my hair starts standing up.
Oh, yeah.
I feel really weird. Chills, very weird. And I get like a little frequency ring in my ears sometimes. So I'm taking this picture, and I'm thinking to myself, this is very bizarre. And I look back at the picture that I'm taking, and the plasma, the ectoplasm that had appeared in this picture going across this obelisk with the full moon energy on it, and I have it on my one webpage, it so takes on the shape of the X-ray of what looks to be some sort of entity that is really not human. And I have an artist's rendition that I found online. It looks very extremely like 90% accurate to this image of this entity that I captured. And basically it looks like a reptilian type being. Those along the lines of David Icke would be talking about. These what they're alpha draconian type beings, which is very unique because the obelisk, which was beyond this entity which I was trying to capture, are very prevalent in ancient Sumeria. Now, ancient Sumeria, we know, are the times that go back to these clay pots where you see these reptilian beings breastfeeding their babies.
They're young,
these are supposed to be the gods who have come from the heavens.
Parris, stand by, young man. You and I have to take a commercial break with our news at the bottom of the hour. Exonation. Parris Stefanow is our special guest. To find out more about Stefanow, all you have to do is go to Facebook and type in his name, Parris Stefanow, and bang, you'll come across him. No problem. He's the guy with the baseball cap and the dark glasses on. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as the X-Zone continues from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
And welcome back, everyone. Our special guest this hour is Parris Stefanow. Now, Parris is spelled Parris, and Stefanow is Stefanow. Now, that's the name you have to type into Facebook. And once you type it in, his picture is going to come up. And as I said, he's the dude with the baseball cap on and the dark shades. We're talking about spirit photography, orbs, being a spiritual intuitive, and much more in this hour of the X Zone. Tell me, Parris, what do you think is the most controversial aspect of the paranormal? Now, you've been doing this for a number of years. You've talked to a number of people. You've taken photographs of a lot of paranormal things. But in your opinion, after being in this genre for so long, what do you think is the most controversial part of the entire paranormal phenomenon?
Seems to me the most controversial part would basically be like the evidence at hand. It seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in terms of controversial, how can I put this into words here? In other words, people need to be more, I guess the evidence needs to be more, to me, to really understand the evidence, people should be more satisfied with something other than just like an EMF meter moving on a little tool. You know what I mean?
I sure do.
Yeah, they need to be more satisfied with more evidence. In other words, people need to. It's okay to be skeptic, which is great. But if you don't have balance in things that you do in your life, including being a skeptic, you can really get unbalanced with being a skeptic, and basically throw out things that, if you do not keep in your mind, could actually chain reaction lead to other explanations of things in the future. In other words, if there's something that I experience that's a piece of evidence that I'm going to blindly just throw out as skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't throw that out and I put that in my mind and I leave it in my mind till it matches up with something in the future, I mean, that's the way I pretty much do it. And if it matches up with something in the future and we click that piece of evidence in with something that we have a higher understanding of, it basically can lead to more things which will chain reaction to a better understanding of what we're working with, if that makes any sense.
When it comes to UFOs or Bigfoot, here you are, a professional photographer. You've been doing this for a number of years. Everyone and their brother has a digital phone or digital camera on their cell phone, or they carry a digital camera in their pockets. I know that most researchers in the paranormal do. And yet there hasn't been the all-conclusive photograph of Bigfoot. There hasn't been the all-inclusive photograph of a UFO. And yet people will take glimmering shots of who knows what, and they'll swear that this is the real McCoy. Now, as a professional photographer, when you see these photos, what do you think?
I'll tell you what, I get quite a bit of people who come to me and they show me pictures. Now, for each one picture that I post that I feel is something metaphysical or paranormal, mm-hmm. there's many other ones that I don't post. Whether it is paranormal, but yet it's too small to be understandable or to be put into the field of calling it paranormal, I won't put it in there. The many pictures that I can take that I discredit, and I really hammer my nose to the ground and trying to skepticize them out, is bugs. Sometimes you can get bugs that illuminate white, and they look like little angel figures, mm-hmm. or if they're too close or too far away, they'll be blurry. You have people leave the exposure open, and you get fractions of light that blur it. it's amazing. A lot of people. Somebody came to me the other day and they told me they had a full body apparition. They sent me the picture, and when I looked at the picture, it was basically what appeared to be a tree, which was a tree that was cut off probably at like maybe 10 feet in the air, and in front of it was another branch leaning down, and there was another piece of wood going across it, but it was pixelated because it was relatively far in the picture. So they wanted to see an apparition of a person standing there. But I run my pictures through all types of filters, and I try to blow them up, and I'll even try to sharpen them and get a feel for it. And if anything seems to be anything that I cannot basically be happy with, I will omit it, and I will not put it on. But a lot of people have so much pride, and they have a lot of passion for what they do, that they want to see something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do, and I'm just wondering, you just brought something up that that I'd like to throw your way. Is it possible, in your opinion, that what a lot of these people are taking photographs of are basically projections of their own thoughts?
Excellent. It's excellent you say that, because I often think that myself, too. Necessarily, like people say, how can you be in the right place at the right time to capture these images? And I say to myself, every time that you're taking pictures is the right place, and it is the right time. Because basically what you're basically doing, if you have an understanding of metaphysics and how the brain works and how the thought process ripples out and boomerangs back as physical manifestations, you can really manifest things with the power of your mind. But you have to really believe it and have passion. And sometimes I wonder that basically that a high percentage or maybe a certain percentage of what I capture basically seems to be a direct response of my energy field interacting with the other parallel dimensions. Because a lot of times if I take pictures of myself just for the fun of it, a lot of times I get these little things that I call slider orbs, which I have never seen anywhere else. They're little orbs of light, and they bleed in so quick in my images, and they disappear, that they leave these little tiny streaks. And it seems that every time I've had them show up in my pictures, the following evening or the following end of the day, I've had, should I say, very negative experiences or very stressful situations happen to me, and it never fails. It's like without question, every time I find these. So yeah, that's very true. I think a lot of times, a lot of the paranormal and metaphysical images that appear that I get, I do believe that a high percentage of them are a direct response of myself trying to connect with these dimensions. And yes, we do manifest with our thoughts. Yes, we do.
So
I believe that.
How can you build in a mind filter of some sort so that when you're taking your photos that you can actually block out or filter out the image that your mind is trying to project? And I'm just wondering now if a lot of the ghost sightings that people see at these different so-called haunted houses are nothing more than the manifestation of the group consciousness.
Yeah, that's very well too. When I do my work, I'm mostly a lone rider. Because I like to work on my own, because I can focus, I can get into my own zone,
right,
and I can do what needs to be done to capture what I need to capture. And when you go with groups of people, there's a pro and con to that. The pro could be you have a group of people, and they have collectively combining their energies, and they have the passion to capture something. And to me, what really helps manifestations with the human mind is the passion you have. It's basically the fuel that helps the manifestations. So you get groups of people, they're very passionate and they want to capture stuff. So yes, that collective mind of them together, maybe 12 people, can actually be great for manifesting things. And I think it does. But at the same time, if you have one negative thinker, that could also basically affect. If you have over-skepticism, that also can. Because I believe, personally, a lot of people say, I'll believe it when I see it. I believe the opposite. You're going to see it once you program your mind to believe it.
Where would you personally like to see the paranormal field heading in the future?
Myself, I'd like to see it heading in a direction pretty much where it's less skepticism. I understand this world where we live in, you have to be skeptic on certain things, but the more, like I said earlier, I like people to be more satisfied with evidence other than a EMF dial moving, other than a temperature gauge. There's other ways and other things you could do to basically make your pictures successful spiritual photography-wise. And basically, it's just using your mind. When you go out and take pictures, just use your mind and send your thoughts out there. Talk if you have to. You'd be surprised when you're out there. Basically, if you're excited or you're scared, it's still a passionate fuel that you're basically using to make a conduit to these parallel worlds. and they are there, and they will come. But if you basically keep it up and you ask and you talk with your body, mind, and spirit, and you keep it up and you really believe in yourself, you're going to be surprised what you get on a daily or weekly basis if you keep it up. You know what I mean?
I sure do.
And yeah, there's so many other ways to do this other than just using these tools. We have our body, mind, and spirit, and believe me, it does work.
Where would you personally like to achieve through your own metaphysical work? What's your goal?
My really goal is to basically, I know it may sound corny or funny, but I would like the majority of the people to be basically enlightened by the pictures I take, knowing that there are indeed unseen parallel realms, parallel worlds, and there are what I would call living beings and entities and frequencies and energies that are comprised of that. Basically, the same energy that we're comprised of in our third dimension is basically the same thing that they're comprised of, but it's at a higher frequency. You know what I mean? And indeed, you can use your body, mind, and spirit to tap into that and to capture that. And I want people to be enlightened to that subject and to know that they indeed can do what I do. I'm not like a person who's sitting up on a mountain who's claiming to have good things that nobody can't get. Anybody can do this, basically. Anybody can. And I want people to be enlightened to know that the fact that they indeed can do this. But don't focus on the skepticism, because that's what you're going to manifest. If you focus on positive, you're going to get positive results. Wherever you focus your mind and energy, that's what you're going to see in your life. And if you want to focus on skepticism, you're going to get that. You want to focus on manifesting wonderful pictures, entities, and being a connection to the other worlds, you're going to get that. If your passion is strong enough to achieve it, you have to believe in yourself, basically.
So it's like the old saying, to thine own self be true.
Exactly. And this is what football coaches do to their football teams so they win Super Bowls. This is what golf players do to win those tournaments. It's a basic theory that you can apply to everything in your life other than just metaphysical pictures.
All right, so if someone listening tonight says, you know what, I heard Parris on the X Zone the other day, and I'd like to try my hand at spiritual photography. What tips or how would you suggest they go about it?
Basically, I would suggest, pick up a digital camera. I wouldn't get a cheap one. Just get an average, decent one, average pixelated. And basically just, dig into your own body, mind, and spirit. Ask yourself why you're doing this. Find out the reasons why you want to do this. And if your reasons are very pure, they're very positive enough, and your passion is there, you can basically, the sky's the limit. If they're starting out new, I would basically say start out by yourself. You know what I mean? Start out by yourself, and you don't necessarily have to go to haunted locations. You can go to a graveyard where you live. And basically, if you don't want to go at night, what I found to be very easy for me is that the best time to get some sort of daylight apparition is to go in the graveyard when it's heavily overcast or when there's a storm around and the sun is blocked out. It seems, in my experience, is direct sunlight with blue skies in the graveyard seems to hamper whatever the ectoplasm or apparitions that I get most of the time. Go to when it's overcast, go when there's electrical storms.
Right.
Yeah, it just seems to work wonders if you're scared to go at night. And basically just keep doing it. Keep doing it, and don't be afraid to talk out loud or talk in your mind and form a personal bond with whatever it is you want to capture. Because basically your passion is going to be so intense, you're going to get something in that picture. And it's a domino effect. You get one thing, it's going to lead to another, and it's going to lead to another. And don't listen to anybody who is going to say you're crazy or who is overly overly a skeptic. Because basically the only person who can hamper yourself or stop yourself is yourself, believing the things that other people say about you and your work. Stick to your guns and believe in nobody but yourself, and don't listen to anybody else when they have negative things to say about what you're doing in your work, because you're the only one who's going to be able to make this stuff come through in your pictures.
So what do you think a person would have to spend on a camera to start? What are the minimum camera requirements?
Basically, I would probably get an average of at least like a 10 megapixel.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't get these Walmart ones that are on the peg hooks. Basically, on these those lower class ones. I call them lower class, lower quality, because you're going to get a lot of pixelation, and the pixelation, especially in the distances, is where most people want to see something so much that they'll see something in basically nothing. The minimum, I'd probably say usually about $100 and up. Usually about 125 to 130, you can get something nice. I seem to stick with Samsung. I like Samsung cameras, either that or Sony. They seem to be very quality cameras for me. And I go on there and set the shutter speed at the most highest one possible, whether it's day or night.
You know, it's funny because people think that the paranormal only happens at night, and they forget that there's the entire other side of the light spectrum where the paranormal is very, very busy as well.
Exactly, and I find that the electrical storms are very beneficial when there's lightning around, heavily overcast skies, full moons, meteor showers, new moons. If you can get another thing that's very excellent, if you happen to be taking pictures during a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, very wonderful times to do that, because I remember when I was taking pictures with a lunar eclipse, I captured an apparition of a face.
All right, Parris, we're going to hold it right there. A little bit of a cliffhanger. We've got to take our final break for this hour. X-Zone Nation, Parris Stefanow is our special guest. Just go to Facebook, type in his name, Parris, and then Stefanow is Stefanow. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free is our telephone number here at the X-Zone Radio TV show. And if you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, Parris Stefanow. Now, if you'd like to contact Parris, go to Facebook, type in Parris. Parris has two R's, and then Stefanow, Stefanow, and it'll bring you right to his little picture there. He's the dude with the sunglasses on and the black hat, and just click on that, and bingo, you're home. And don't forget, the X-Zone is also on Facebook. We're on Twitter and on MySpace, X-Zone Radio TV. That's as simple as it is to hook up with us. Right now, I think we've got nearly 3,600 friends, my producer is telling me. So, hey, there's always room for more friends in life. And, Parris, it's great having you here on the show and great having you as a friend.
Excellent. I'm very pleased to be here. It's a great show you guys have.
Thank you. Now, Parris, would the same basic premise work for a person who wants to use a video camera looking for the paranormal?
Oh, hell yeah. I believe it can be crossed over into EVPs, the electronic voice phenomenons. I believe it can be carried over into videos. I believe it can be carried over into many things, and not just paranormal too, to be honest with you. You know, it's almost like a golden nugget of understanding for myself. And I'd like to enlighten people with that as well, you know. And you program your mind to believe, you will see then.
Surface with the great new digital photography that's coming out, the great new digital audio recording systems that are available, and now with the better understanding of quantum physics, string theory, parallel universes, and multiple dimensions. My goodness, these are great times.
Wonderful. Wonderful to be alive during these times, I'll tell you what.
It sure is. Listen, I want to thank you ever so much for joining us. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Once again, let our listeners know how they can find out about you and all the photographs they've taken. And listen, if people have strange photographs that they'd like you to take a boo at, would you be able to do that?
I would look at just about everyone they send me. I'll try my best. I would love to.
All right, tell them how to do that.
You can contact me through the Facebook. I have 2 pages on Facebook. I have the Parris Stefanow page, and I also have a public figure page on there, which basically is you'll see my name kind of written on the image in the public figure page. And just you can basically send me pictures or questions that you have, and I would more than be happy to help you get you through the pictures and the questions. Basically.
All right, super. Parris, once again, thanks very much for joining us. Great talking to you, and I look forward to the next time when you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Excellent. I enjoyed myself.
All right, take care now. Once again, X Zone Nation, if you'd like to find out more about Parris, here's the way. Go to Facebook, ParrisStefanow. It's that simple. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past as the X Zone continues. From our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and Ustream. Don't go away.